All right, everybody, this is Aaron Breitman, host and co-founder of the Scarlet Faithful of the Full Ride Network. Thanks so much for joining me to start the week on Monday. Going to try something new here. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to try to put out a daily podcast. How long that's going to be, what it's going to cover is just going to be determined. The news of the day, also just specific topics and themes I kind of want to riff on. And then I'll also have, continued episodes with guests and more kind of thorough analysis on one subject. But, I just thought it'd be something fun to try, something different. I don't think anyone really does that in the Rutgers world. And just another way to kind of get content out for the Scarlet Faithful, for those of you that like the videos, like the podcasts, and I appreciate all that. So always open to feedback and ideas as well. So you can reach me on Twitter, Aaron_Breitman, my email, breitmanaaron@gmail.com, and obviously commenting on the scarletfaithful.com directly. So wanted to cover a few things today. It was kind of a busy weekend, actually, even though we are in May now, first notably with baseball. Chris Brito breaking the program's home run record, hit his 43rd of his career, hit a grand slam on Friday against Penn State, hit a home run in the fifth inning on Sunday. Rutgers swept Penn State combined 26-3, 26-3. They outscored Penn State. Huge win for Rutgers. 15 of 18 now. They've won 5 in a row. They're now 11-7 in the Big Ten. And sole possession at third place, only 2 games behind Maryland, who they lost 2 out of 3 earlier this year. So 2 series to go. They have Illinois at home this weekend. They have a break this week, no midweek games. Illinois at home for the last 3 of the regular season, and then they're at Minnesota the following weekend. Both teams are ahead of in the standings, so real chance here to finish third place, possibly better. I don't think they'll catch Maryland per se, but Indiana's 1 game ahead of them in second. But, there's a 4-way tie, 1 game behind them for 5th place. So could finish anywhere, I'd say from probably 2nd to 8th right now. But it's probably, no matter what happens, is going to come down to the Big Ten tournament in terms of their NCAA tournament chances. They started pretty slow this year. They were 15-15. They're now 30-18. They're playing much better now. It's really pitching the consistency when Steve Owens changed the rotation. Now true freshman Christian Coppola is the Friday ace, and he's been dominant 3 of his last 4 appearances. He had 7 innings, 13 strikeouts on Friday. And then you had Drew Conover, who kind of shifted a little bit. It was transitioning, MLB draft pick last year, transitioning to the starter, went back to the bullpen a little bit. He's now the number 2 starter, and he pitched 7 scoreless on Saturday. So they're both starting to click. The bullpen's starting to click. You had Ben Gorski get a 6th save on Sunday, 4 scoreless innings. So this team is starting around into form. Chris Brito and Ryan Lasko started a little slow. They're hitting really well. I really like Josh Kuroda-Grauer in the leadoff spot. Jordan Sweeney's had some clutch hits. So I'm really excited to see what this team can do this month. And I think they have a shot. They have a shot to win the Big Ten tournament, which would be really sweet, not only for the program, just in terms of those guys that have been with the program for a few years, but just to get a little bit of redemption after last year based on, for what many people outside of the Rutgers world said was a snub for the NCAA tournament. So we'll see what happens there. Softball finished their regular season, their best regular season in quite a while. They're 32-24. They finished 9-14 in Big Ten play, but on Saturday they beat Big Ten champs Northwestern, their first ranked victory in 11 years. So Kristen Butler's team certainly, having their best year in quite a while, and they're now the 11th seed in the Big Ten tournament. They play Ohio State on Wednesday. They actually lost the series to Ohio State 2 out of 3, but lost that third decider game in extra innings. So, and their other loss was by 1 run. So that should be a very competitive single elimination. So anything could happen, and it would be great to see softball make a run. Those of you that might not have been aware, lacrosse, both men's and women's lacrosse, unfortunately, their seasons are over. NCAA Tournament Selection Committee, and not surprising, by the way, Rutgers men's lacrosse not making it after their loss to Maryland in the Big Ten tournament last week. 8-6 overall, really struggled in Big Ten play, only won once. They were 7-1 in non-conference play. It was just a lot of injuries piled up. Brian Cameron specifically was a huge loss for Rutgers. He missed about 3 games, I believe. He was a huge part of their scoring attack. And I think they, overall just depth caught up with them a little bit. And they weren't able to power through. They had a kind of a tough loss to Ohio State in the middle of Big Ten play that really hurt them. So they're ranked 16th in the country, but not going to the NCAA tournament after 2 consecutive years, the Final 8, and then also, of course, the Final 4 last year. But Coach Brian Brecht has a lot of talent returning. He's hit the transfer portal pretty well the last few years, has a pretty good recruiting class coming in. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond. But, they've been a winning program for a long time now, and I expect them to respond in a really positive way. Women's lacrosse, really crazy season, high expectations coming in, started 3-0, kind of really struggled in the middle part of their schedule, very hard schedule, a lot of ranked teams, ended up 4-7, and then won 4 of their last 5, going into the semifinals on Thursday against Maryland. Did not win that game, lost 11-8. And RPI wise, there were 15 going into that game. Men's lacrosse only has 18 teams in the tournament. Women's lacrosse has 29. So women's lacrosse, if they had one more win, would be going to the NCAA tournament. They have a losing record, 8-9, so they're ineligible. They had a game against Johns Hopkins this year. They're winning by 5 goals and gave up 6 in a row for the loss. That's going to haunt them for a while. But they did the same thing to Johns Hopkins in the Big Ten tournament. Not exactly that kind of run. They did that to Ohio State. They were down 5 and won by 1. But Johns Hopkins, they outlasted to get to the semifinals, but unfortunately fell just short. A lot of talent still there. Cassidy Spillis and Megan Ball were tremendous as always. Really, I think, felt the loss of TT Naslonsky, the all-time points leader, this past year. Not there, obviously. And, pretty youthful team that I think has a lot of talent that will get better. But it's going to take a little bit of time. And Melissa Lehman's been fantastic at Rutgers since she's been there, and I expect them to bounce back and reload even more so back in the NCAA tournament next year. So wanted to talk a couple more topics in terms of hoops and basketball and football. Let's start with football. Football had a pretty busy weekend, actually, in terms of recruiting news. First off, on Friday, you had a commitment from a receiver in North Carolina, and this is Isaiah Crumpler. So you may recognize the last name. His father is Carl Lester Crumpler Sr., legend at East Carolina. And I have family that went there and know him very well in terms of what he meant to that football program. And then he had 2 sons, Carl Lester Crumpler and Algie Crumpler, both played in the NFL just like Carl Lester Sr. Algie Crumpler, probably, 12 years in the NFL, great tight end, all pro, multiple years. So Carl Lester Jr. and Algie played 6 and 12 years respectively in the NFL, and now you have Isaiah, their younger brother, who's coming up the ranks. His only other Power 5 offer was Duke, but he's a part of recruiting. He's a 3-sport athlete, so he's basketball, football, track. A lot of recruiting rankings and all that, it's about the camps you go to. It's about kind of being football full time. And I think that, he might be a steal. He's a super speedy receiver. He's got pretty good numbers down there in North Carolina. And, on film, he looks good. He looks good. He's a high 3-star rated prospect. On 3 actually has him as 4 stars. So he could rise through the rankings. He's a top 500 recruit regardless. So I think he could end up being a steal for them, and really good momentum there. And then also the next day, Caden Brown, who's an edge rusher from Erasmus Hall, Brooklyn, New York, who Rutgers has a ton of familiarity, ton of connections with. Just had Aaron Cruikshank, Sean Ryan, and Christian Izzian, all from Erasmus Hall. Sorry, it's Monday, Erasmus Hall in Brooklyn, and all got undrafted free agent deals in the NFL after the draft last weekend. And then you have Moses Walker and Kassan Abraham still on the roster. So Caden Brown could be the next. He's a high 3-star, 4-star edge rusher, and put Rutgers in his Final Four, all Big Ten schools: Michigan State, Penn State, Maryland, and Rutgers. He has an official scheduled for Rutgers in June, which is great news. So I think the hope is that when he comes in June and visits, they can lock him down. He would be a big addition to the 24 recruiting class, which, by the way, is trending pretty well right now, ranked 26th nationally by 24/7 Sports composite rankings. Obviously, it's early. Obviously, they don't have a lot of top-heavy in terms of top-rated recruits. But, getting Crumpler helped. He's their second highest rated recruit right now. And I like where they're at the top. I think, Gabe Winovich from Detroit, the 4-star guy from Michigan. You have AJ Cerise, the quarterback. I think you just need more of those kind of guys for the class to round out. But I think that top of the class right now is looking really good. And, obviously Caden Brown would be a huge addition to that. Also, Kaj Sanders, the athlete from Bergen Catholic, it could be defensive back or wide receiver. He listed them in their top 10. So he's a high 3-star, 4-star as well. He's committing in July. He set visits, 5 visits, one of which is not Rutgers, but he told Brian Doan that he's going to take an official to Rutgers as well. So hopefully, that will happen and Rutgers has a shot there. So I'll do more on football later this week, but wanted to just touch on that. And then the last thing I think today I wanted to touch on is the date to know this week is Thursday. Thursday, May 11th is the deadline for college basketball players to enter the portal to be eligible for next season. Why do I say that? I'm sure if you're listening or watching this, you follow Rutgers sports pretty closely. And it's been it's out there at this point on social media, on message boards. I know the guys who kind of broke the story on Rivals, the Night Report, Richie Schneiderite and Mike Broadbent, talked about it on their podcast yesterday about the rumors about Mawat Mag potentially entering the transfer portal. Obviously, nothing's official out there. From what I'm being told, it does sound like it was a maybe not a false alarm, but as of now, status quo. He's going to be at Rutgers. So, of course, anything could change. As I've talked about on multiple podcasts recently, recruiting in college basketball right now changes by the hour. So anything's possible. Cross your fingers. And, I'm not going to speculate as to why, but I would just say that obviously everything's fluid with recruiting. Rutgers, overall, despite some publications saying it's hit a rough patch, which I kind of laughed at and tweeted on Sunday. Listen, they've signed a top 50 transfer and Noah Fernandez in the last month. They've verbally got a verbal commitment from Lathan Somerville, who's having one of the best EYBL seasons of any prospect. I think Rivals had him in the top 10 in terms of top performers so far in April. Now that the month is over, he committed a week and a half ago. He's a top 100 recruit in the class of 24. You have Delquan Warren, another top 100 4-star recruit, committed verbally. East Bailey is verbally committed. Dylan Harper is your top target. It's looking, I think, if I had to bet, I would say he's going to commit, although anything can change, like I said. I believe he's going to announce soon after the Peach Jam in July. So, yes, Baden Adongo decommitted. Yes, there's some questions with Cliff Omori. Is he going to come back? Yeah, he's going through the draft evaluation process. I wrote about last week that him and Caleb McConnell were invited to the G League elite camp. And if they do well enough, they'll get invited to the NBA draft combine later this week. So lots going on. The roster is kind of still being constructed. Obviously, Mawat Mag staying would be a huge part of that. And let's see what happens. So we'll be talking about that all week for sure. And, I think it's funny. College basketball has kind of turned into similarly to baseball, NFL, where the off season is just as riveting in some respects as the season in terms of the news cycle now, everything going on. So a lot to talk about. I hope you liked this kind of first daily edition. Like I said, I'm kind of just experimenting, see what happens. And go from there. So I'll do something again on Tuesday. I'm going to put this out now Monday morning. I'm going to play around with the times, see what maybe works best for people. If you have any suggestions, you can hit me up, like I said, on Twitter, on my email, Aaron underscore Breitman on Twitter, Breitman Aaron at Gmail for my email, on the site as well. Hope you read the Scarlet Faithful. And just to be clear, there was a little bit of confusion last week. Completely free to the reader, completely free to fans, all of my content. And if you ever have any trouble, getting a link or whatever, as a startup, obviously, there's been some trouble on social media here and there, but everything's been running really smoothly in 2023 since we started last July. And, yes, there's going to be ads on the site, and some people have said there's ads. Well, yeah, I mean, any site you go to these days, there's ads. But we have a forum now, free forum, similar to the message boards. Check that out. I post things there as well. And then obviously on the site daily, some things I talked about today in this podcast, I have articles on specifically. I'll have this posted on the site. But I, post probably 2 to 3 articles per day on the scarletfaithful.com. Obviously, this is on my YouTube channel and podcasting, wherever you access your podcasts, available. And just really appreciate all Rutgers fans who have supported me over the years. This is my 8th year now covering Rutgers sports. It's now into my 4th decade as a fan since I was 6. I'm now 46, so dating myself. But as you can see from the video, if you're watching, you probably tell. So anyway, thanks for listening to this episode, and talk to you tomorrow.